How to move files around on your computer using keyboard shortcuts. In lesson number 1, we learned how to create folders and move them around on your desktop. And we also learned how to put dummy files, text files in this case, could be Word, they could be Excel, they could be anything you want, into folder number 1, and using our mouse alone, copy them into folder number 2. If you remember, we would just use the mouse. We could drag and grab 1 or 2 or 3 items at once, which is a click, hold the left mouse, and then release at the point that you grabbed everything you want. And then we would have right-clicked on that grouping, hit copy with the left mouse, and move them into folder number 2. Double left mouse click to open, right-click, and paste. Okay, now we're not going to do the same thing twice. We've already shown you that in the last lesson. We're going to learn how to use our keyboard as a tool to do this, and makes life go a lot faster moving files around on your computer. So let's do that. Inside folder number 1, double click with the left mouse, and we're going to learn how to use the control key to copy just the specific items that you want in a list. And we're also going to learn how to use the shift key to grab more than that. There's about 3 different ways to grab files. I'm going to just add, for the fun of it, and you can do this along with me, new text files. We're going to make 7 of them. Okay, so we're going to have them labeled. So we're going to do that. Text document, highlighted in blue and white. We're going to go 5, and I'm going to just create 2 more. We're doing this just to show you the power of moving things around and grouping them with the keyboard and the mouse together. Alright, so we have 7 files now in the folder number 1, and we're going to move them, but in different ways. So, first lesson is using the control key to select different files. I only want to grab files 1, 4, and 7. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm not going to use the mouse and do this dragging of the blue fishnet here. What I'm going to do is use the control key to grab files 1, 4, and 7. Here's how I do it. I'm now going to hold down and not let go of the control key. I'm going to use my left mouse to gently click once on file number 1 while holding the control key still, file number 4, and then file number 7. All with the left mouse and all while the control key is being held down. Those items are now ready to be copied. Now previously we would have just held our mouse over the highlighted area, right click, and select copy, but we're not going to do that this time. We're going to use the keyboard to copy, and how we do that is by holding down the control key and then C, the letter C on the keyboard, and you do that in 1, 2 moves like that. And while doing that, just looking at the video there, that's how that's done. You now have them copied, and we can now either minimize this folder, or we could have closed it, either way, and we double left mouse click open the folder number 2, and using the control key we hold it down and then press V. And what that did was copy files 1, 4, and 7 into folder number 2. Just to make sure that we've done that, and take a look. Yep, there they are. So that's how you use the keyboard to cut and paste. Or in this case, we're just copying and pasting. Cutting is a little different. How about we talk about that right now? I'm going to just undo my copy. And don't worry about the warning, because you're just deleting copies. We're going to now cut those files. Cutting is very different than copying because they move permanently from the original location and into the other location that you choose, and so that means you'll only have one set of files with those names. I'll get into it here. So let's do the exact same thing, but we're going to cut. So we're going to hold down the control key, and while holding it down, left mouse click on 1, left mouse click on 4, left mouse click on 7, and now after I've done that, I've obviously let go of the control key. I'm now going to re-engage the control key, clicking once and selecting, while holding down the control key, the X key on the keyboard. I release all of that, and I'm going to close the file folder number 1 at this time. I'm going to double click on folder number 2 with the left mouse, and then with the control key I'm going to hold it down and press V. And I release, and there I have files 1, 4, and 7 have been moved permanently to folder number 2. How do I know? Well, let's take a look at folder number 1. What's missing? 1, 4, and 7. Okay, now can I undo what I just did? Let's find out. Right click, undo move, and yes, I can. And what it did by doing that is put them back over to folder number 1. Let's do the same exercise using a USB stick. So stick a USB stick in your computer, and if a little message window pops up after you do that, why don't you close that? Because we're going to assume that the computer is kind of doing too much for you on your behalf. We're going to close that little pop-up. And so now with the USB stick, it should look like this. It might have a name like Kingston or Cruiser or something, but I call mine USB stick number 1. What I'm going to do is do the exact same thing. I'm going to copy. First of all, I could have told you to hold down the control key, so I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to click it once again. If it doesn't highlight blue, it's not being copied or cut. Still holding down the control key, I click 4, and still holding down the control key, I click 7. Now I can click and drag things into the USB stick. I'll show you how to do that. Left mouse, hold, and as I'm holding down the left mouse, I move it to the USB stick. You see how it's lighting up as I go? And if I let go of the left mouse, it's going to ask if I can copy and replace the files that are in there already. I'm going to say yes. And now if we close this and we go to my computer, or in your case computer, it might say on your computer, double left mouse click on the USB stick, we now see that files 1, 4, and 7 are moved into the USB stick. I have 3 in there as well, only because I was doing stuff before. So I'm going to circle those from the outside. I'm going to hit the delete button, and now they're gone. Now we're going to do something interesting as well, is we're going to use the shift key to select a whole bank or row of things in the folder here that you want to copy. Now I only want to select from 1 to 5, but instead of using this fishnet thing that I use in using the blue square from Microsoft, dragging with the left mouse and then letting go, we're going to do something using the shift key. So this is your shortcut for grabbing a particular portion consecutively within a file of a bunch of files or a bunch of folders. You'll see. As I hold down the shift key, I don't do so until I've clicked once with the mouse on file number 1. Remember we wanted to get 1 to 5. I now hold down the shift key, and while holding it down I select 5. You see what's happened there? I've now prepared for copying a block from 1 to 5. Let's do it with, say, files 1 to 6. Clicking once with the left mouse on text file number 1, I then hold down the shift key without letting go, click with the left mouse on number 6, and it has now got the whole bank of text files from 1 to 6 ready for copying. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy those over to folder number 2. Right now we're on folder number 1. We're going to move them all to folder number 2. So I'm going to hold down. I don't even have to hold the mouse over this area. That's the cool thing, is they're already highlighted, ready to be moved. So control key, hitting the C while holding the control key, and now they're copied. Now I just have to move them. Closing that, double left mouse click to open folder number 2, and holding down the control key, I then press V, and voila, we have files 1 to 6 copied into folder number 2. So that's pretty neat. One last trick we're going to show you is how to collect everything, and I mean everything inside a folder. It could be a bunch of pictures, it could be a bunch of files and pictures, or whatever. Here's how we're going to do it. It's the Control A feature. And so what we're going to do is just close that, double left mouse click on folder number 1, and take your hand off the mouse. At this point you can, because what we're going to do is now hit the control key, and while doing that, holding it down, you hit A. And that means all. You've grabbed everything, and I mean everything inside that folder. So That's now in a position to be copied. Again, without even touching the mouse, I can hit Control C for copy, or Control X to cut, which will permanently move them. Let's do a Control X. Control, holding it down, then I press the X key, and now I can minimize or close this folder. I'm going to minimize, and now I'm going to double click, and even though there's files in there, I'm going to overwrite them, and it will ask me if I want to do that. So I take my hand off the mouse, I'm going to hit Control, while holding it down I hit V, and here come the questions. Move and replace? Well, it depends. If you want to replace old files with new, it will tell you if you're replacing newer with older. Most of the time that's what you want to do, is move and replace newer files with older ones. But you also have an opportunity to move but keep both files. And when you do that, it will basically double the capacity of what's inside the second folder, but it won't accidentally overwrite. In other words, copy over and erase all the information on the files that you had. It will make two copies. So I'm going to choose the option to move and replace. And in doing so, it also has a little tick box here for do this for the next 5 conflicts. Saves a bit of time if you can click that, because then it just does it in one fell swoop. So move and replace. I'm selecting that with the left mouse, one single click. And not a lot's changed, but we do see the addition of the 7th file in the second folder. And just for fun, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to move things over to our USB stick. So double click on the folder number 1 with the left mouse. There's nothing in there. Okay, that means we cut it and moved it. So let's go to folder number 2 then. Double left mouse click. Let's grab them all by doing Control A. And then we can click on the USB stick here. And you don't really have to hold your mouse in this area, but I would recommend it. And then Control V. And nothing happened. So I must have forgotten something, didn't I? That's right. Let's go back to folder number 2. Control Alt. Oh, that's right. I forgot to do the other thing, which is Control C to copy. So let's do that while they're all highlighted. Control, holding it down, I hit C. And now I go to a USB stick. And now I go Control and V. They all moved. So that's how you move things around with the keyboard shortcuts. It's really a lot faster. It saves a lot of time. And it always asks you if you need to do it, or if you should be doing it, or it tells you that if you do this, it's copying a new one over an old one, or an old one over a new one. And you will always get familiarity with this process with the more you practice it. Again, use dummy files and dummy folders until you get the hang of it. So that's the second lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a long one, but as a lot was covered. So go and practice that now, and we'll get into some other neat shortcuts and features in our next few lessons. So now this is Martin for Martin for Chat signing off. Take care.